All right,
Crank it
we'll
up.
call Ways and Means back into session, and we have with us Dr. Jamie Wilson of the Street Department.
I noted that, yeah. I was in school long enough, so that makes sense. That's good.
That's great.
All right, proceed at your leisure, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. We're the Street Department, Jamie Wilson, Street Director. With me, I have Deanna Benker, Commissioner of Traffic, Kent Flake, Commissioner of Streets, Randy Breitenfeld, Deputy Commissioner of Refuse. We also have Zach Fortune here, our Street and Traffic Liaison. Do you want to go each division? How do
you
guys wanna
like
roll?
it.
So we can go each division. I can kind of tell you some high-level changes
Sure.
relative to last year, and then just kind of go with questions and answers. If there's some general stuff, I'll field it. If the commissioners want to speak up in any more detail, get down in the weeds on some of the stuff, that they're available as well.
That'll be fine.
Overall, the street department in a whole, about last year, we were 39.5 million. We're about 40 million this year. So it's about 500,000 plus from last year's operating budget. Starting at 510, that's our director's office. That's the folks that do the permitting, the inspections, 50/50 program, sewer lateral, all that kind of stuff. Our general administration for the rest of the divisions, that's in the director's office. This year, we're at $1,120,148, which is slight, $89,000 less than last year. We had a reduction in about 3 positions that got revamped into 2 lower positions, the delta being that 89,000, but we're about the same as we were last year. We got a new accountant 2 position, and then another traffic inspector to monitor our permanent projects. So overall, not much of a change from last year in the director's office. If anybody has questions on director's office, or I can keep
Well,
going.
just keep going. What we'll do is
Sure.
you do your overview, and
I
then
don't
we'll
want to
run to
presume,
questions.
okay,
That's fine.
gotcha. In 511, which is our traffic and lighting division, this year we are budgeted for $10,101,589, which is about 145,000 more than last year. This year, some notable things in our personal services, we added about 4 more utility locators. That's to keep up with the tidal wave of utility locate requests that we're mandated to fulfill as they come through. That's tough to keep up with, so we definitely need 4 more locators to do that. We also added 2 more signal techs. Was it 3 utility? 3 utility, and then 2 more signal techs. Those are our guys that work on the intersections, troubleshooting the vehicle detection, the way that the signal controls are operating, that type of stuff. Those are the more notable items from personal services that represent the change from last year in the traffic and lighting division. The towing division, 513, we're just under 2 million at 1,858,652. That's about 248,000 less than last year. But a note on there is that there was a line item for fleet last year that was $250,000 itself was transferred from the treasurer from the parking division to pay for additional tow trucks. There was $250,000 in our fleet services account. I don't have a number off the top of my head, but it should stick out on the one-page budget. And then we revamped a few positions to change how we reduced an account clerk to a manager, and we're changing it to an administrative assistant too. So basically, 2 positions we figured out we could do with this reclassification to another. But besides that line item on the... What does, I'm sorry.
What did you say regarding fleet?
Fleet, I'll pull the number. Just-
5539 account.
This was this 50.
Okay.
5539.
This is this line right here.
I was
This
gonna
is some
say
of the
it's
250,000.
5,000.
The right there.
What page?
194.
194,
Yeah,
bottom
Yeah.
Is it
two-thirds,
250?
250, 250,
page 194.
but
Right,
it's
right here.
right there,
That's the 250 from last year.
Oh,
I
okay.
see, yeah.
So how many trucks do we have?
Okay, we'll get there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking out loud.
In 514, which is our street maintenance division, we're budgeted for $7,411,264. That's about approximately $300,000 more than last year. One of our notable items is there's a bump in the salt budget to keep up with the de-icing. I don't know, Ken, do you know historically how much we've used and what we're predicting for?
Average around 250 to 350. So this is a significant month after a significant winter.
In 516, which is our refuse division, we're budgeted for $19,465,608, which is about $450,000 more than last year. The more notable item with refuse is the cost it takes at our transfer station to pick up our materials. We've been bringing in more material, and that's largely due to our debris program that brings in more of the stuff, illegal dumping stuff. Obviously, that's still here, and we've combined forces. The forestry guys have come over, they're now on the street maintenance side, so they're with 514. So they would, on average, have about 12,000 tons a year. We're predicting we're gonna double that with our efforts, with more equipment, more manpower. So we're gonna be pulling in even more than we were before. So we're budgeting that in the amount that we gotta pay for someone to take that out of the transfer station. So that's where you see that bump, is because we know we're gonna end up with that cost because we're pulling more junk off the street.
Because we have more trucks and better trucks.
So that's the divisions. I don't know if you guys wanna get into questions,
Well,
like to any or all of the above.
yeah,
That kind of is the notable
let's
items.
call upon your compatriots here to help with the answers as questions go around.
Sure.
And before we start the questions, let's keep the questions germane to the budget, not to specific
You don't
little.
want to know about our sidewalk?
No, we're not.
You don't
Customer,
want to know
many
about the
lights?
sidewalk?
let's keep the budget in mind, not customer service complaints, for particular addresses right now. We have plenty of time to do that.
Okay.
But I will note that, on that note, that we do have Zach Fortune
Yeah.
here, who is your conduit to us at the street department.
Yeah,
So
that's it.
there's
He
a
does a
reason
good
he's
job.
here.
Very
That's-
good. He is very
Yeah.
good.
Very glad to hear that, and that's why he's here. So if there's
Yeah.
any things, you've got us all here, but we have Zach
Yeah,
here
but
that
Zach
we
will
can.
take all that, but let's
Yep.
try and keep them.
Right.
No, I meant after
I
the
hear
meeting.
you.
After the meeting,
Yeah.
Zach will be here and we'll
For sure.
set a conga line up.
Right.
We'll leave Zach in here. And we'll leave.
All right, so Vice Chairman Davis, you're first on the schedule.
I don't have any questions.
All right, okay, very good. Alderman Vaccaro.
Not germane to the budget, so.
All right then, Alderman Howard.
I noticed that you are down 3 tow truck drivers, or you have those in your crosshairs?
Those
I
are
mean-
vacancies. I don't know if you want to speak to how long.
There's 4 now.
Yeah.
Oh, 4? You need four more?
It's been on the board since probably the beginning of time. We get pretty much no applicants.
Huh.
Wow. Would that be due to, what is the pay level for that job? Ballpark.
Oh, I think it's a G12, they put it at 32, 34, I think.
Oh, God, that's horrible.
And they have to be
And
city
they work
residents.
shifts too, right?
Yeah.
And they-
24/7 operation, 3 8-hour shifts.
That needs to be upgraded.
And then probably on call sometimes.
On call in the wintertime, on call for any weekends or
Do they get
events.
any bonuses? Do they, evening bonuses? No?
They get shift differential.
Yeah.
If they work the shift.
And then one more question. Do you, once you collect the cars and they go to the tow lot, do you scrap those and take money for that at all? Do you get any income from that?
We have an auction. Go ahead.
Yes, we have an auction every Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Typically, it's between 60 and 100 cars.
Okay.
You can go get yours, Carol.
You can get yourself some brand new stuff up there. It's real
I bet.
nice.
I bet. I've seen them take some off my streets. So you do sell them, and that, I guess the proceeds go back into the budget?
Yes,
Okay,
it's significant. I think it's million and a half.
okay. That's great. Good, good. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderman Hubbard.
Oh, real quick. Lost my train of thought. So, how many vacancies do you all have across the board as far as streets, refuse, or whatever, like, about how many vacancies? Entry level positions or vacancies?
That's a lot. We have to add it up. We have, in every,
Could I, Chairman?
Director Alderman would like to
So
step in.
citywide, we're looking at about a 16% vacancy rate right now. And we can pick on individual divisions. I was listening to Kent to say, it's been a decade and he's never had all his tow truck drivers full. Okay, it's a very bad thing. I could probably list 20, 25 positions that have never been full in the last decade. It's bad. Water department is at a 23 or 24% vacancy rate. And that's what makes it so hard to do it. We're having a heck of a time recruiting. You heard from forestry, they need 50 people to go cut grass. And in another month, some of those people that are working are gonna fall out. So we will never have enough people to cut grass, even though we're doing everything we can. You heard about the recruiting. We've had recruiters out the rec centers, schools. We've gotten James Clark involved and Demetrius Johnson, the father of people, getting these fathers off the street and recuperating them. They're promised me a dozen candidates every 6 weeks, every time they do a class. We're out beating the streets trying to find bodies to fill in from the bottom all the way up. So, thanks.
All right, thank you, Rick. So,
And these are primarily seasonal positions or full-time benefit positions?
The 16% vacancy I spoke about is full-time positions.
Okay,
Okay, the ones at Forest are seasonal positions.
okay.
Understand, you get somebody that doesn't have much training, you give them a seasonal job, they can get into a full-time job.
Yeah.
They always select the better ones and pull them in. So it's a great opportunity.
I have no problem.
And if we could recruit regionally, it might be easier.
I mean, I couldn't quit talking about this because this is a huge issue. Kenny even has a program where he works with the people that don't have CDLs to get them CDL licenses. We're doing our own internal training on them. I mean, this has been going on for a few years now, just trying to grab people, get by. Sorry.
no, you're fine, thank you. All right, Alderman Hubbard, you're fit. Alderman Murphy has left the room for a moment. Alderman Spencer.
I think we skipped
Um,
Alderwoman.
Murphy, no, she's.
Oh, you had,
Yeah,
you
we-
did, oh, okay, I apologize. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree that streets, towing, all, you know, these services are some of the most important in our city. The tow budget is one that is really, that I'm kind of looking at. I want to better understand why, that has decreased from, looks like from 1.6 million to 1.58 million, or that we have a decrease there in the city tow budget, if I'm reading this correctly, is that right?
Yeah, and that's where, sorry if that explanation didn't come through when I was going through that. From fiscal 19, last year's operating budget, and that 5539 line item, I don't know if you guys have the same.
I'm looking
I
at
can't see
page
what you guys are-
194.
Maybe I'll look at exactly what you're looking at can help.
Mr. Chairman, maybe next hearing, we could request that department heads prepare or come with the specific documents they want us to look at, so we can all look at the same thing.
I should have the,
Communication,
Okay.
I don't know.
so page 194,
Yeah, they have pages 1 and 4 and 5, okay.
so
Yeah,
194,
I mean, as long as,
yeah, it's the same as mine, I just know what
Oh,
your
okay.
page is, that's fine.
194, never mind.
So page 194, 5539 is a fleet. In fiscal 19, we had $250,000 in the budget. That was sent,
I'm looking at, okay, so the total department total is 2.1 million in 2019 versus 1.8 million in 2000, budgeted for fiscal year 2020. That's a reduction in funding to the city tow department.
right,
And I would think that towing vacant or derelict cars is one of the largest unmet needs that my city residents and city residents in general have. And so to cut the budget from the department that performs that service is alarming, and I'm hoping there's an explanation that I'm missing.
well, I know the parking division is looking, I'm a member of it, but the subject is on the table as far as doing another $250,000 for 2 more tow trucks, which was in there in fiscal 19, shows as a reduction to fiscal 20,
Okay.
$250,000 less than we had back in 19. So we're looking to get that line item back in there. That was sent over from the parking division due to the relationship that we have with towing vehicles and as part of parking enforcement. So that would be a large one. More than that, adding
Even that
additional
difference.
staffing or vehicles over that.
I mean,
always something where-
even adding 250,000 in doesn't get us to the same budget line that we had last year. And so to me, what this says is we're slightly cutting money to a service that we're already not performing as well as I would like to see the city be able to perform well. And if we're having a hard time recruiting drivers at 32,000 or 34,000, as the Alderwoman from the 19th pointed out, we should give these guys a raise and find a way to fully have full capacity. I mean, it is seriously one of the most complained about issues that I receive as an alderman. I know many of my colleagues share the same frustration that we can't get these cars towed enough. We don't have enough space at our tow lot. You know, to expand that, I think would be something that would be of great benefit, especially considering, as you mentioned, it's a big moneymaker for the city. We generate 1 to 1.5 million in auction fees. Do we know how much we also generate in tow fees?
It's just short of 3.
3 million?
I don't have the exact number, but
Total.
it's just
3
short
million
of 3.
total? So if we're putting in $2 million into the city tow department and we're getting $3 million out of them, it seems like every dollar we put in, we get 1.5 back. So we should be putting more in.
And that's something we can address with the Department of Personnel.
Well, we
to look
should at least be giving back what.
Or at
they
least
gave.
we should be fulfilling what we did last year, right? So I would like us to keep an eye on this and make sure that we're funding our city tow department at a level that is enabling them to at least perform as well as last year, not cutting them, but hopefully providing them with more manpower so that we can improve that service to our residents.
If I could, Director, can you expound a little bit on what's going on in the parking division? There's some actions pending there, they're gonna back this. That's a public thing you can talk about. How your last your parking meeting went? Didn't you have a parking meeting?
Talking about the tow trucks or
Yeah, with the parking.
He did, he mentioned that, but even
Well,
adding,
But they're exploring, if I could, they're exploring, the parking division has not submitted a budget yet, and that goes to the street committee. And so Jeffrey Boyd's involved, he's a voting member on that, and they started these discussions, Jamie's a
Yeah.
voting member. So there's a lot of things in the works, and one of them is to build a new tow lot, okay? And to have the parking division help fund that, okay? And that's like a $3 million deal, because part of what ties Kent's Crew's hands is they don't have enough room, they only have 8 acres up there. And then they bump cars into each other and we have liability. We have proposed about a 20-acre site on an old landfill to move this to, which would more than double the capacity for storage, okay? And this $250,000 that popped into the budget wound up being a result of the street committee and the parking division. That's where that money came in the end. So right now, the parking division is behind on their budget, and none of that, whatever action that'll be, is reflected in what you're looking at today.
Okay.
Okay? I mean, that's
well,
like a
but
side
even,
shoot what's
so
going on.
even if we just add the 250,000 in, that would be potentially coming from the treasurer's office, not to,
Parking
not,
division.
the parking division, excuse me, not to delve into this additional concept of having that office pay for additional storage space, we would still be slightly cutting the tow division's budget. And I'm just reiterating that I feel like we should be putting in more money so that that department can function, not slightly worse than it did last year, but better, because we continue to have a significant issue towing vehicles. On Monday, I had a police officer who spent 2.5 hours waiting for a tow truck driver to come and take a vehicle from a street that was impeding traffic. And unfortunately, a tow truck driver was unable to make it there because they were so tied up with accidents that they didn't have enough manpower. We wasted not only 2.5 hours of police officer time with that problem, but we were unable to remove a vehicle that was causing significant problems. And this is not a one-time incident, it's a regular instance, and we should be working on addressing it. Not only that, it generates money for our city, because every time we tow a vehicle,
Right.
we're making money from that. Not that we should be looking at that as a revenue source, but certainly we should be able to perform this. So,
I agree. I think with the salaries, that's something I could take up with Department of Personnel.
yeah.
There's a formal process for having them evaluate what the going rate is for, say, private tow companies and what it takes to stay up to snuff compared to our.
Has there been any conversation of forestry's outsourcing many other things using private sector to do that? Is that, if you can't get personnel to get this pay level up, could we allocate money to them to use private sector and outsource? Apparently it's working for forestry. they're doing a lot of things with it. So I don't know, I'm not that I wanna just throw money at private.
Right, no, I get
I'd
what you're
rather have
saying, it's,
employees
it's a
working with the
concept
city. Yeah.
to consider. I like to go through these
Sure.
first before we get to a
Sure.
point of that.
Yeah, they're always.
Okay.
And then, do we have enough tow trucks themselves? So the tow trucks, are we fully fleeted? I know we had some really old ones and some of our tow truck drivers were unable to use facilities well. We have some, facility issues over there.
Sorry,
Oh,
that's
sorry.
distracting.
I'm getting dressed over
We'll get her
here.
together.
Just getting
No, well, we got the
dressed.
two
Yeah.
last year, what do we, 14?
We have 14 total. We've got the two that came in with last year's money. They'll actually be delivered here in the next 15 to 30 days.
Okay,
It takes a long time to get something built from the bottom up. It's usually 9 months to a year. So those will be showing up on the floor here mid-June probably.
how many more do you need?
If we could get in this 2-year cycle, or not 2-year, 2 per year cycle,
Mm-hmm.
life would be beautiful.
How much is each one cost?
105, 110,000,
So that's with that 250, so you need, how many tow trucks do we have total?
14.
We have 14, so we've replaced 4 of them?
No.
Or we've got
We've
funding?
replaced 2.
I know, but did you say you have 2 more in the hopper, or those 2?
That's the
That's the 2 in the hopper.
Oh,
So we have 14, and are they beyond their lifespan?
Most all of them.
Okay, so we really need to
I
be
think there's
putting in
3 that are-
250,000 a year? Yeah.
So, I mean, it'd be perfect, and that was the goal when we first talked about this. If we got 2 per year, that would be great.
So can-
Normal useful life of a truck in our business is about 7 or 8 years, except these are ran 24/7. So that takes that useful life down to about 3 years.
So that 250,000 for the fleet services that we received last year from the parking division wasn't really a gift, it was like completely necessary for functioning of our city tow department.
Yeah, great picture.
And we need to continue that on an annual basis, it needs to be probably built into the budget, whether we fund it out of general fund or fund it out of the parking division, right?
I'm not gonna object to it, but I know, again, that's on the parking vision to do the same this year.
Okay.
But I mean,
It's,
instead of counting on the gift, as you noted, it'd be great to have.
that would be my hope, okay. And then the last question I have is about the streets themselves. One of the frustrations I have as an alderman is that it's up to us to use our ward capital to pave our streets. And this is also often a political decision in some ways, but really, I have no data really to go off of how, what should be prioritized. And by data, I mean age of streets, number of cars traveling down them and that sort of thing that should be driving some of this decision-making. And most cities operate with that sort of like cycle in place. If you look at Clayton or even smaller municipalities around, they look at the age of each street. They have maps that describe streets by age, and they're paving them by usage and by age. What would it take for the city of St. Louis to not professionalize? I know we have a lack of budget in our streets department that disables us from being able to do that, and we sort of,
I think
I
you
mean-
just said, I mean, it's not lack of the ability to do that, it's the lack of the funds to do it. We could come up with a plan every year that says that, it's the miles traveled on each one, the last time they were surfaced, the current grading of how they were when they were last inspected, that type of stuff. That type of stuff could be done in the future, but if there's no way to fund it, I don't know where we go with that versus in a circle.
do we have any data on the age of streets?
Yes.
Can we provide that?
Favorite or?
I know
They
I've
didn't give a decision yet.
asked for it. Could I get that information to help me decide better how to allocate the ward capital that we have?
For sure.
I think just noting that it's a very unusual set of circumstances for a city to have paving decisions made without that information. It would be helpful to drive some of that decision-making.
Right.
Can I ask
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Murphy, would you like to take your turn?
No, I'm fine,
You're
thank you
fine?
very
All
much,
right.
sorry.
No problem. Alderman Mohammed.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I will yield to the Alderman from the 23rd who has an urgent question.
No, it's not urgent, but I was gonna ask, because John texted me. So the lawsuit was yesterday, the Supreme Court suit on the treasurer's office, and there was no decision yesterday. And obviously, once they just, if it's under the decision that was made then we can make the treasurer's office part of the street department, but, when do they anticipate the Supreme Court decision?
I don't know that.
So when it went to,
No,
court-
right there.
Well,
it went to court here,
okay,
and Judge, I believe, was Stelzer. That's how Jeffrey was able to do what he's doing, is Jeffrey sued.
we're familiar with what happened, but you're, so.
The Supreme Court was yesterday, I thought, maybe since he was on
But
the parking.
it didn't occur?
No, it was, I don't think there was a decision, that's what I was asking.
All right,
If they're anticipating a decision,
That I don't know.
Yeah,
myself,
that's-
so.
but they heard it yesterday.
well, okay. All right, so Alderman Mohammed, you have no other questions?
I think you guys do a great job. You're my favorite department. I want my speed bumps tomorrow.
Humps, not bumps.
It's her fault. It's her fault. Whose fault is it? I'm kidding. You guys do a great job. I love you. I think you guys need more money though when it comes to fleet and trucks. I think you guys need more money. That's it. No questions.
Thank you very much, Alderman Boyd.
The only thing that I'm asking, do you all have it, because I had asked when I first got elected about requesting capital equipment when you do your budget, and I was told, no, you all don't request capital equipment. So now that we made this big hoopla and got all these new trucks, so now are you all looking to start making sure every time you do your budget, you're requesting new equipment? Because this equipment we have now is, as Ken said, you run them 24 hours a day, so it's gonna phase out because it's gonna be no good. So are we looking to be proactive and start looking, getting equipment set up to start rolling out and pulling in new
Yeah.
equipment?
Yes, a lot's taken care of from the equipment services. They've got capital projects that involve upgrading the different fleets for the different divisions. Our own internally, for example, refuse division, with that fee increase from last year, we got this 10-year plan to take 80 trucks and upgrade them and change the average age from 10 years up to 5 years, 5, 6, 7 years on an average age per vehicle. So, and then it's planned per year, as you'll see in 516's budget, how much we have between our lease purchase and our cash purchases. It's planned every year how many trucks we're getting to stick to that plan. So over 10 years, we'll get to that point. And obviously in 10 years, we don't just stop upgrading. It's up to us to come up with the next plans and the next plans on top of that to keep things up to snuff versus letting them get to a point where they're 20 years old, for example. So
Okay, that's
that is
what
the
I was
approach to take,
concerned
for
about.
sure.
Okay, and then I just wanted to thank Randy, because Randy has really stepped up and trying to make sure that, we are accommodated by our needs. And it's good that you all are working close with the task force, and I'm excited about the debris team. So you have some good people that's working with you, Zach and Deanne and Ken, and they're trying to make things happen. But like we all are looking at, dollars are the big issues. That's the big issue in the bottom line, yeah. So thank you all for what you do with the little bit that you have to work with.
Thank you.
All right. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
No questions, just thank you.
All right. Is there anyone, Alderwoman Davis, would like to interject?
So I'm going to say what I've always said for the last 10, 11 years. Because we operated a certain way does not mean we continue to operate that way. It was a time when we had 800,000-900,000 people who supported the tax base for this city. This city is no longer in that position, so you have to look at how to provide services differently. One of the things I'd like to recommend to you, because you will never, based on the declining population of the city of St. Louis, have the funds that you need in order to have a healthy fleet and/or a number of employees. So we need to look at outsourcing. Outsourcing is cheaper, but you're still, all those companies have employees that live here. And so we're helping to build capacity within our city in a number of other ways. Those companies will be paying higher tax base to us. Their employees, they can hire more employees, but they also have the ability to get the job done. If we had, say for instance, only 5 or 6 tow companies that could come immediately to car crashes and all those kinds of things. We can't do that. But there are a number of other entities out here who are all located all over the city who could do that for us, and it would cost us less to do it. So if we can look at different ways to do this, we should be primarily looking at what we do in residential areas. I don't need a lot of strange people in residential areas. But those open public circumstances, people could be handling that. I am not in favor of building another big lot for us to be storing cars on. I'd rather somebody else be doing that. Because some people pay in order to service certain contracts. When you look at the partnerships that people form in different municipalities, it's not the city doing that. They're small cities and they get the job done. So we need to look at how to do what we need to do differently. I've said that about forestry and a number of other things. We are not who we used to be, and we need to stop pretending. We just need to stop and come into the new world of how to get things done. I'm done.
All right, thank you. Anyone else have any comments before we close out?
I
Alderman
would
Spencer?
Just quickly on the tow situation, I know you guys do a great job, and I'm grateful to have the direct contacts that I have to be able to serve immediate needs that we have in the community. The facility up there that we have our workers have to suffer through is really a pretty deplorable conditions. And I'd like to see us include an ask in the budget to make that a facility that, you know, is a little nicer for some of the folks who serve such an important role for our community.
I didn't catch that.
I didn't either. Whose phone is that talking about?
I don't know.
It's yours.
Oh.
It's not mine, mine's not on. It was?
It was yours.
It's not on. I don't know.
All right.
I didn't catch that. Well, I hope that everyone
I heard
else
you,
got that.
we both,
Yeah.
well, I heard you, the phone didn't hear me.
Maybe it was my watch.
All right,
Yeah,
so
I
it
think it
looks,
was my watch.
I guess, what I'm taking away from this, Jamie, is that we need to look into raising the, I guess you're gonna check into raising, I don't know if we make it this time, but
Yeah, it-
personnel about,
Take effect next, yeah.
yeah.
I've heard of drivers having to bring their own toilet paper to work
Yeah.
and other things that are just really not acceptable.
If, we can get some more money for you for that.
Yeah.
All right.
I've got a couple of drivers that live in my
All
ward.
right. Okay, if there's no further questions of anybody here, everyone can save their questions for Zach later. And with that, we will adjourn the Ways and Means for today. We'll meet tomorrow at 10 a.m. And I believe that is all. We have no announcements. We are adjourned.
Thank you.